You, right now, listening to this video, might be winning a large chunk of silver for free. Two of you, actually, so your chances just doubled. All you have to do is click one button. Subscribe. Once we hit 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to jump out of an airplane and announce the two winners mid-flight with a GoPro attached to my helmet so you could watch it all unfold. I'm going skydiving in celebration of 100,000 subscribers so you can celebrate winning while I'm literally falling out of the sky, hopefully not to my death. Make sure you don't miss it because this will be a beautifully horrific sight to see.
Connection established.
This week's specials at Miles Franklin are 90% junk silver coins, only $1.99 over spot. Also pre-1933 $20 gold liberties, $65 over spot. And last but not least, 1 ounce palladium bars, $119 over spot. Email, text, or call me, slayer@milesfranklin.com, and I will hook you up. Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are here with the legendary Andy Shectman, who's the CEO of Miles Franklin. Andy, it's nice to see you. Is there anything you wanted to kick off this episode with?
Good to see you too, buddy. Yeah, there are a few things that I want to talk about. Really, in particular, one thing, and it is in regards to a story that came out of Russia, out of a news agency called TASS, and it was an interview with a man named Yuri Ushakov, and he works at the Kremlin, and basically came out and confirmed what we already knew, that the Brics nations plan to develop a new payment system based on blockchain. But what's really important to understand is the dynamics of it and what they know. And I want people to really pay attention here, because what he says to me is really telling as to why gold and silver and all of the world's commodities are behaving the way that they are. So I'm going to read this to you so that you understand, rather than try and paraphrase it. We can talk about it in a moment. He says, all that leads to adopting a new international currency is that we really don't need to go large scale. Brics is enough. He said, the idea of the currency is that there will be two baskets. One basket will be of national currencies of all the countries involved in the process, like the SDR, which is the special drawing rights of the International Monetary Fund, by the way, but with more clear and understandable criteria. Okay, so they're going to have a basket of a currency that's based upon local currencies and a basket of commodities. Now we assume that main commodity will be gold because it is the world's only other tier 1 reserve asset, and the central banks have been buying it and repatriating it from the Bank of England and the New York Fed like it's going out of style, right? So we understand that, right? But here's the interesting part. Well, also, he says it should be in a digital form, which means it can be used without the banking system. So it will be at least 10 times cheaper than the present transactions through banks and currency exchanges. And what he's talking about there is the Chinese have CIPS, the CIPS, which is the Cross Interbank Payment System, or Project M-Bridge, which was just utilized for a big trade. It allows these countries to trade, whether it be currencies as they are now or central bank digital currencies outside the SWIFT system. That's what the Project M-Bridge is. And that was devised by or developed by China, United Arab Emirates, and I think Singapore. But so, first of all, he's saying it's going to be a currency that will be digital, that will be traded outside the SWIFT system, and it will be a basket of commodities on one end and a basket of local currencies on the other end. So that's what it is, right? But here's the important part that I want people to understand, okay? And it's the most important part of everything. And he says this, the second part of the equation is price. For the moment, price is determined by Western speculation. We produce these commodities, we consume them. but we do not have our own price mechanism, which will balance supply and demand. During the COVID panic, the price for oil fell to nearly zero. Now, he's wrong there. It actually fell to negative $40 a barrel, which is kind of the whole underlying factor here of a commodity exchange that can distort reality through speculation to the point where oil is negative $40 a barrel. And they did that because there was more oil than they had the ability to hold it in any of the refineries or the holding tanks. So you had all of these ships sitting out in the middle of the ocean filled with oil, and there was no place to park it. So it was actually negative 40 a barrel. We'll pay you $40 to take our oil. That's how crazy it is. But anyways, he says, it's impossible to make any strategic planning for economic development if you do not control prices of basic commodities. Price formation with this new currency will get rid of Western exchanges of commodities. Now, I've been saying this for a long time, that the Shanghai Gold Exchange or the Moscow Gold Exchange or the exchange in Dubai will take over for the price setting mechanism of the West. We already know that the the LME, the London Metals Exchange, was purchased by the Chinese a few years ago. The LME deals mostly in base metals like copper and zinc and lead and steel. They do something with precious metals, but not a lot. So this is not just about precious metals. China owns the LME, and they have just made a deal to where they are going to start warehousing the metals held and backing the contracts trading on the LME. So Chinese will warehouse the metals in China, backing the contracts that are traded on the London Metals Exchange. You see here that they understand that the West has been suppressing the price of gold and silver, and they understand that. And they are using it to their advantage. They are using it against us until they have bled dry all of the shelves. In fact, they just came out and said that they want to build a new Brics grain exchange. And they say it's likely to change the face of the world grain market tremendously, because after World War II, the United States wheat and corn exports dominated the markets, but now that's no longer the case. So they don't want to have to sell their wheat and corn where they're selling or producing just as much or more than the US is, where global prices are primarily determined on the Chicago Commodity Exchange. They want to have a Brics grain exchange. They are going to have a Moscow Metals Exchange, a Shanghai Gold Exchange, a Dubai Gold Exchange. They are going to set the price for all of the world's commodities. They already own the LME. Do you see the transition here? They are using the suppression of all of the Western prices against us. Now, this is the first you've heard of them acknowledging it. I've always assumed they understood this, that they understood it and are using it to their advantage. It's Najitsu. You use your jitsu, you use your opponent's leverage against them. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're using the make-believe Western prices to accumulate all of it and to misdirect the Western public into thinking gold and silver are archaic relics of the past. You should just own cryptocurrency and NVIDIA stock. At the same time, they're draining the exchanges of not just gold and silver, of grains like wheat, soybeans, and corn. You know, there was just a report that came out that the Chinese are cutting corn contracts tremendously, like in half, all the Western contracts. Why? Because Brazil is the second largest exporter of corn in the world, and they are now buying it from Brazil and valuing it, paying for it in yuan. And so what is yuan? Oh yeah, it's convertible into gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange immediately. So all of these new dynamics are taking place, and what you are seeing not only is a changing of the guard, where you're going to see the price setting mechanism change, but you're beginning to see contracts change, where the wheat and the corn and the soybeans were all bought by or sold to the world by American farmers. That's now changing, because I think the world is very tired of the fact that the commodity exchanges are priced in dollars, but priced in a way that is suppressive, priced in a way where the commodity exchanges or the futures contracts control the price rather than the underlying commodities. And these are the countries who accumulate them all. These are the countries who produce them all, that consume them all. So once they've accumulated all of the commodities that they can pickpocket at pennies on the dollar, at that point they will stop accepting, because at that point no one is going to sell at the make-believe prices that the West give us. At that point, you will see a transition to places like the Moscow Gold Exchange, to the Shanghai Gold Exchange, to other exchanges across the globe that will fairly price these commodities. And it will signal the end of the ability of the West to have any significance or influence on the pricing of all of these commodities. And the fact that you have these finance ministers in the Brics Union talking about this is exactly what I assumed, that they know exactly what's going on and they're just going to use it against us. So it's a very big deal for people who are wondering why the prices haven't taken off more than they have. The people accumulating it aren't bitching because they like getting a subsidized price. But once they have all that they will be able to receive before anyone else, when no one else wants to sell at the make-believe prices, you will see a transition to these other exchanges. And that's when the price goes parabolic, just like that. So yeah, I think it's a very, very, very big deal and something people need to think about when they are asking themselves, why hasn't gold and silver gone up faster than it has? And, look, in the end, I think gold and silver will go higher than anyone thinks possible. But I do want to also make one other point, at least in terms of gold. And you have euphoria in the stock markets, right? With NVIDIA and with cryptocurrencies. And there's no major reporting of gold. And I know this is a silver channel predominantly, but understand that gold and silver have a 90% correlation throughout all of history in their movement, right? So as one goes, so will the other. And look, let's just state facts. The central banks and the major banks have been buying gold and silver at a pace the world's never seen before. So these are the most informed people in the world. Gold's up $350 in the past 6 months, and that's 20% in 6 months. 6 months ago, the price was $18.20. Now it's $21.70 or whatnot. And even with all the manipulation over the last 5 years, gold has risen from $1,275 in March of 2019 to $21.70 or 80 right now. That's roughly a 70% return in the past 5 years. You divide 70 by 5, that's a 14% annualized return. And I just want you to know that my entire career, my mentor, Richard Russell, said, if you make 6 or 7% per year, you are a rock star. So here is a pet rock that pays no interest, that everyone says is an archaic relic of the past, that the central banks can't buy fast enough, that's paying a 14% annual return over the last 5 years at a period of time where everyone's bitching that it's not moving up fast enough because it's being manipulated. So I just want people to understand that this is all by design. And the big money is letting it creep up little by little by little by little as they continue to accumulate it, but not fast enough. And once it becomes exposed to the whole system that the Western price is ridiculous because no one wants to sell it. Look, you're already seeing the arbitrage in China with gold up 70, 80 bucks above the Western price, and silver up almost $3 above the COMEX in London price in Shanghai, which is incentivizing the sophisticated traders who can access both markets to buy in Chicago or buy in London and sell and deliver in Shanghai. It will never come back. This is all a process. Understand it for what it is. Do not be upset by the counterintuitive nature of the market. This is by design. And we'll wake up one morning and boom, it will just all have changed without much of a warning. This is your warning. All of our conversations are your warning. And when you see a finance minister in the Brics say, yeah, they're manipulating the price, we understand that. And at some point, the price will transition to another exchange where we have a vested interest in being open and transparent on what these commodities are really worth. That's when the West will be left in the dust. And I think it's coming. I truly, truly do. And this is at a time when all of the people in the know, like the billionaires, have been dumping stocks almost as diligently as the central banks have been buying gold. This is a period of time where you need to take a step back and see the big picture and not get thrown off the bull because of the volatility and the counterintuitive nature of gold and silver. So I think to me, it's one of the biggest articles I've read in a very, very long time because it acknowledges what I have always thought they understood. And now I know they do, and they're playing us. And at some point, they're going to flip the switch and prices will move from price setting will move from west to east because the West people will just realize it's been exposed as a scam and a fractional scam at that. And I think we're almost getting to that point. It's getting harder and harder and harder to suppress the price of gold and silver when the whole world is buying it, even though the Western media isn't telling us that.
I made a video yesterday mentioning all the billionaires that buy gold and silver. There's actually 756 billionaires that live in the United States. And I listed, I think, 12 of them yesterday that invest into gold and silver and all the
That we
central
know
banks.
of.
And yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And these are just publicly. And it's just, it's not ironic, right? It's not ironic that the most, Brazil, Russia, India, China, all these countries and all these billionaires and all these different banks are buying record amounts of gold, and something that has intrinsic value should be based more off fundamentals. But that missing puzzle piece that a lot of people don't understand or think is a myth, which is manipulation, that is real. And you mentioning that they actually admitted it, that is big news. And I do think, like I cover a lot of Ted Butler's work about COMEX and the price suppression, and Ted Butler's came out, he said, think of the highest price you can for silver, multiply that times 5, and that's probably what these people understand it. And a lot of people that look at the price, they're desensitized to these lower prices. They can't anything above $50. You know how many times I've asked people, what do you think about 100? They say silver will never pass $50 again. It's like they don't understand its true value. I don't think people understand that aspect of it, or how much it is manipulated. Like you always say, price is the greatest tool of misdirection. It's not ironic that they're holding down prices, they're being bled dry, buying record amounts. And these are the most successful, powerful people in the world. It's like they know something nobody else does, except for us. Like they say, like, I think 1% of the population invests into precious metals. 1%. I always talk about this in a video. Someone who's watching this and let's say someone goes back to this video in the year 2027, they look back at everything is already converted over, so gold and silver's prices are already exposed. They look back and say, damn, it was so obvious, it was, it was staring us right in the face. But people in the moment right now can't see that, right? It's funny how that works. Thanks for sharing that. I'll have to look more into that and maybe cover it in a video. Last episode, you mentioned that these companies, they will just rip people's heads off with fractional. You said the word fractional coin special. Afterwards, I got tons of phone calls and emails. Some I sent over to you and you helped out. Thank you for that, by the way. There was a pattern, and this is scary. And I want to bring up, I'm not going to say any companies or names, but I'm going to talk about the specific coin, because if this happened to two different people, I'm curious, and potentially even happening to other people. These red-tailed hawks. The guy said, "Hey, this company reached out, said they that he mentioned he wanted to invest $250,000. They said, well, you have to spend a minimum of 400,000, which is weird. But then he also said, yeah, you should do these red-tailed hawks, Canadian red-tailed hawks, because they're special. They won't get confiscated or something along those lines. And so this guy invested $400,000 in these half-ounce Canadian red-tailed hawks. These coins he cannot sell. He knew he got ripped off. He's already over it. This was years ago. But then someone else, a couple days later, was mentioning this company. Said, this company I used to invest into silver with. They've been investigated twice by the FBI, and he was curious, like what he thinks about it. I was like, well, what do you have? What'd you buy? He said, these half-ounce Canadian red-tailed hawks. I was like, wait. So I was like, it didn't happen to be this company. I said the name, and the guy busts out laughing. He was like, holy shit, that's exactly who I'm talking about. That's the company. So if two different people from the same company that got ripped off from this, and this happened to, I'm curious if anyone else had that same experience. So let me know if that's happened to you as well, or anyone watching. I just thought that was very interesting, and that episode, I think, really woke up a lot of people to how dangerous it is out here. So
But
yeah.
yeah, and there's a distinction that also needs to be made, and that is, the Canadian Mint. I sold a lot of red tail hawks in 1 ounce form. The one
Right.
ounce Birds of Prey series by the Royal Canadian Mint, they're the same price as silver maple leafs. I never even knew, and I mean, literally, I sold tens of thousands of the red tail hawks. I own a bunch. I never even knew they made a half-ounce coin, and maybe
Right.
that's one of the special coins that they were able to make. These firms are able to do deals with the Royal Canadian Mint. If they buy enough and they buy these coins in sizes that they do not sell, they can have exclusivity to it. But whether it be half-ounce red-tailed hawks or quarter-ounce sea turtles or any of these quarter-ounce Statue of Liberty coins, the stuff that I've never heard of, never seen before, the premiums that have been sold to the public are horrific. And when you're paying, in essence, you know, I've seen 900, 1,000, 1,050 for a quarter ounce gold coin, and as high as $60, $70 an ounce or higher in 1 ounce silver coins, under the guise of it being a better price. You know, I talked to someone yesterday about it, and it was his mother who was taken by one of these companies, and he called them and said, "You guys know exactly what you're doing. You know, he says, well, you know, no one sells this stuff, so we price it where we think it's fair." Well, that's exactly why they choose these coins that nobody sells, because there's no means to compare it with other companies. And I've done this for 34 years. I never knew there was a half-ounce red-tailed hawk. I had never heard of a quarter-ounce sea turtle or any of these coins that are made often by respectable mints. They're coins that they are specifically choosing, that have low mintage, that nobody buys or sells, and they are selling them at prices that are really, really, really predatory, I guess is all I can say. And unfortunately, almost every single one of the companies that does this is very deep into the retirement account industry, and they are selling it to elderly folks who have IRAs that will never get their money back out of it. And there is nothing more disgusting and diabolical that you could do than to rip off an elderly or a senior citizen or anyone, even someone who's 60 years old, who's worked their whole life to put a life savings together and nearing retirement, and listens to someone like you or me who thinks they're doing the right thing by buying gold and silver, only to find out that the company who they bought from, which was endorsed by a high-priced famous person, spokesman, who had no idea probably what kind of company he's actually endorsing, or she, ends up getting taken to a level that I've never seen before, taken to a level that I honest to God believe is criminal, and it's predatory. And it's to the point where we make a couple of percent sometimes, usually less than that. These companies are making a couple 100%, and doing it in a way that you don't have time on your side when you're talking about IRAs for older folks. And so you don't have the luxury of making a bad decision. And when the worst part about it, it's like if you ever play golf, right? And you get to that one hole where you really want to hit a driver, but it would be much smarter to hit a 4-iron to put it right in the fairway, and you pull the 4-iron into the woods. And you try to do the right thing, and you just screw it up. Well, that's exactly what this is. I know that's kind of a bad example, but it's the same thing. You try to do the right thing, and you get screwed up by falling prey to a company that's very good at making you think you're doing the right thing, and is very attractive with the company spokesman thinking, well, geez, they would never do wrong by me, only to find out that you have been fleeced. And because this is a federally non-regulated industry, because there is no oversight, it lends itself to this type of behavior where people are left unchecked, can do a lot of really awful things. And I wonder, do these people have mothers and fathers? Because I don't understand how anyone could do this to someone, who's 65, 70, 75, 80 years old. I hear all sorts of ages, only to find out that what they think they did was right to set themselves up, protect themselves from what is coming, only put them in a position that they'll never recover from. And honest to God, it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. Puts a black eye on this industry. And I suggest anyone who what we are saying resonates. Fractional coins like the sea turtle or a Statue of Liberty, or 1.5-ounce silver coins that they paid $80, $90 for, 2-ounce silver coins they paid $100, or call us. We'll talk with you. We'll let you know where you're at. We'll let you know if there's anything you can do. But the sad truth of it is, this is real, and it's not just happening. It's increasingly happening as gold and silver are getting a little bit more recognition, if you will, by the mainstream for the environment that we find ourselves in. It's really awful.
Yeah, this guy, you said it's criminal. This guy, the one that investing in these half-ounce red tails, he got investigated twice by the FBI. He mentioned about this company. I don't know if they're still open or not, but if you're going to invest in a fractional, folks, just go with constitutional silver. There's no constitutional has benefits. One, it is fractional. It's perfect for trading and bartering. They don't make it anymore. It's a piece of American history. It can grow in numismatic value over time as well. Like just go with, a mercury dime is equivalent to a 10th ounce round, half ounce, walking liberty equivalent, to a half ounce round. Like quarter ounce is same as a barber quarter. I think that's the best route for fractional, especially people who are preppers, more for trading and bartering. Especially we have 90% for $1.99 over spot right now. Like that's incredible. So yeah, that's really a route that I hope people understand to go is if you do want fractional. Because I mean, yeah, let's say one day you're going to trade or barter with someone, but it's something that's less than an ounce. You're not going to take a chainsaw to your 1 ounce coin, right? I mean, so fractional does have a role, especially with 90% silver. So yeah, I know you got to go. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch upon today? I don't want to leave you too long because I know you got another podcast coming up fairly soon. So
I think that's enough for today, and
yeah,
we can keep these short. But the bottom line is that give us a chance to work with you. Call us if you have questions on this, and I think you'll be glad that you did. And if you've done this recently, there are ways that you can back yourself out, and we'll help you with that. So look, I appreciate the ability to be candid on your show and to speak truthfully. And I think we're doing it the right way. We're not outing any company, but it's really very important for people to understand that this is real, that this is happening, and anything that we can do to help people right the ship, we're excited to do. And I'm always excited to be on here with you. I am going to be traveling in Europe the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to try and do shows with you while I'm in London. And I have some very exciting things to talk about, maybe even publicly from London with you as well. I have to wait and see how the meetings go over there. But nonetheless, to be continued. And so we may not do the exact same time, but I plan on continuing to do this while I'm on the road with you. So look forward to picking up where we left off. That's for sure.
yeah, we got some exciting stuff happening. When you're in London, I might be jumping out of airplanes,
Mm-hmm.
in
Can't wait to
celebration.
see that.
Man, yeah, so yeah, a lot of exciting stuff, folks, and thank you guys for sticking around. I guess yeah, just remember guys, subscribe, want a chance to win some silver and watch that epic hopefully not deadly moment that I'm going to experience soon. And email me Slayer at Miles Franklin. I will hook you guys up. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Peace.